set the Houston offense. Now look at the offensive line that has played very well. Hopkins, Matthews, Stepnoski, the former Cowboy, Donnelly, Eatman, taken over for David Williams, who was let go earlier in the week. Chris Chandler having a terrific season, as have the two rookies, Rodney Thomas and Chris Sanders. And it's to the ground for Thomas. Levon Kirkland on the stop. Now look at the Pittsburgh defensive unit. Brinson Buckner moves to the left defensive end with Joel Steve making his return last week. Two of the outstanding linebackers in the NFL, Kevin Green and Greg Lloyd on the outside. Carnell Lake been a target as of late, playing with the injured thigh. Willie Williams had a tremendous game last week against the Cleveland Browns. It's a 2nd down and 4 at the 46. We are just underway at Three Rivers. And again, it is Thomas. And he is stacked up by Ray Seals, but a flag has been thrown. It's Red Cashin, one of the veterans of the NFL in his 24th season, 2nd in seniority to Gordon McCarter.
Face mask, number 97 on the defense, 5 yards, still taken out.
So Red getting right to it. Ray Seals called for the face mask.
Houston trying to pick up their running game right where they left off last week against Denver. Seals going to make the tackle and just barely get a piece of the face mask, and that's the 5-yard variety.
2nd down and 1, and Chandler completes for the 1st down. Roderick Lewis, the backup tight end, on the catch run out by Kevin Green. The Houston Oilers last Sunday in a shootout beat the Denver Broncos 42-33, a game that produced a total of 920 yards. Only 36,000 though turning out at the Astrodome, as folks in Houston are looking in the direction of Nashville, Tennessee.
Chandler said he could hear his cadence echo in the place.
Yes. And a 1st down at the Pittsburgh 47. Off the toss, Thomas. And gets inside the 40, met by Greg Lloyd. Last week, Rodney Thomas, the guy who's turned it from early season fumble problems on the 2nd play of the game, was able to whip off a beautiful 74-yard touchdown run.
And that really has been Houston's problem this season. They had the lowest yard per carry average in the National Football League going into that game a week ago. And Chris Chandler said it was just so much more fun playing quarterback when we got our running game going.
2nd down and 2. And the play is blown dead.
Looked like Stepnoski was a count slow getting the football up. Chandler pulled back out of there, and Stepnoski didn't give him the ball.
False snap, false start, the whole offensive line, 5 yards, still 2nd down.
We'll edit that out of the tape. We won't embarrass Red.
Red's a beauty. Wouldn't you like to see Red with Kevin Green's hair? Sort of superimpose those two.
I've never quite thought of that, Chris. Chris obviously having too much time to think despite the busy schedule during the week.
I may telestrate that later.
Yeah. It is a 2nd and 7 at the 44-yard line. That's McNair in motion. And the pass is caught by Jeffries, who was immediately hit by the right corner, Willie Williams. Willie Williams had a terrific game last week. 8 tackles against the Browns, an interception, and a recovered fumble.
And Haywood Jeffries got his 500th pass of his career last week and did it in style with a touchdown. Long-time veteran, so he gives a little bit of the veteran side to the other side with Chris Sanders.
Houston, though, a couple of yards short of a 1st down. It's a 3rd down and 2, and the crowd urging the defensive unit on. Here's the short yardage man, Marion Butts. The Steelers feel they stopped him. Greg Lloyd with the tackle on Butts, who has done a nice job the last couple of weeks.
I think Jeff Fisher's going to go here, and he says go for it. And the reason why is he has Marion Butts on his team. Marion Butts, in 3rd down and 1 situations this year, has converted 93% of the time, 13 out of 14, and they think that they can just give him the ball and pick this up.
Marion Butts, who runs so well for 5 years at San Diego, did not do it last season in New England. And this is Butts. Now the Oilers feel they picked it up. Joel Steed, who made the stop, feels he did not. Let's see where they mark it.
Marion Butts at 250 pounds just got stoved. I mean, he was hit and immediately driven backwards. I don't think I've ever seen Marion Butts stop so quickly and then dumped on his back. Just immediately thrown back, and they did not pick it up.
Yes, the announcement that the ball goes to the Steelers. So the Steelers able to hold off the Oilers on the first possession. The Pittsburgh Steelers, after holding off Marion Butts and the Houston Oilers, will take over at their 38-yard line. Neil O'Donnell, who has been playing brilliant at quarterback in recent weeks. You can see in the month of November, 7 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. He's come back strong after missing 4 games because of a fractured throwing hand. It is a first down at the 38-yard line off the play fake. And he completes for the first down to Yancey Thigpen. That is catch number 65 for Thigpen, who was covered by the left corner, Cris Dishman.
And this is the big difference with the Steelers this season. Ron Earhart is letting Neil O'Donnell throw on first down, and he has been terrific on first down, completing 68% of his passes, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. That's when you have the defense at your mercy, when they don't know whether you're going to go run, pass, and Neil O'Donnell is loving his opportunity.
Well, the spot just shy of the first down. It's second and about a half yard. Off the pitch, Pegram, and he lost a couple. Joe Bowden, the outside linebacker, making the stop. A check of the Pittsburgh offensive line. Strelzik and Searcy at the tackles. Newberry and Stye at the guards. One of the best, Tremonti Dawson, is the center. John L. Williams, Eric Pegram, the running backs. Outstanding core of receivers, which when they go 5 wide includes Cordell Stewart, and Stewart is in there right now, lined up in the slot to the right for this 3rd down at about 1.5 yards. Out of the shotgun. O'Donnell facing pressure and throws it away. Charles Johnson in the area, covered by Tamor Barnes.
Marv, I never thought I would see the day when the Pittsburgh Steelers on 3rd and 1 line up in 5 wide receivers and the shotgun and drop back and throw the football. I mean, it's just amazing. It's a completely different offensive mindset for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year.
So it is 3 and out for the Steelers. And Ron Stark punting to Travis Hanna, who is replacing the injured Mel Gray. Good punt by Stark. And carries to the end zone to bring it out to the 20. It's a 53-yard punt. We'll be back in Pittsburgh in a moment.
Business is about as predictable as the weather.
A misty day in the Pittsburgh area as you look at Chris Chandler, who had the flu all week. In fact, spent 1 day in the hospital. This coming off a magnificent effort last week against the Broncos. In trouble right here and taken down. Kevin Green with his 7th sack of the season.
Kevin Green led the NFL last year, just puts an inside move and really no match. And this was the story of the first matchup between the Oilers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Chandler was sacked 5 times in that game, came out of it with a separated shoulder. No question, his worst effort of the year. This pass rush may just be too much for Houston's offensive line.
And in that first game back on September the 10th at the Astrodome, Pittsburgh beat Houston 34-17. It's a 2nd down and 18, back at the 12. And it's to the ground for Rodney Thomas. And he stopped at the line by the combination of Green and Olszewski. Jerry Olszewski playing for the injured Chad Brown, who is still out because of the ankle problem. Olszewski sat out last week with a foot injury.
Yeah, and all of a sudden now the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is starting to look like the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. I mean, these guys are coming out here and they're playing. Won 5 games in a row and off to that slow start in the beginning, but they're getting it done. Now there's Dick LeBeau, the defensive coordinator.
Third down and 19. They go to the draw. Thomas is stopped. Winston Buckner, number 96, second-round pick a year ago out of Clemson, getting the wraps on Thomas.
Brinson Buckner was just playing the spy on that play, sitting there at the nose tackle position and just was waiting for some kind of a draw or a screen. His job wasn't even to get after the quarterback, and he just simply overpowered Mark Stepnoski once he saw the ball carrier.
So the punting unit checks in. Rich Camarillo in his 16th NFL season. Punting away to Andre Hastings. Hastings with vivid memories of the earlier meeting. Penalty flag is down. 43-yard punt and a 5-yard return. Back in early September, Hastings went 72 yards for a touchdown against Houston. And the call against the Steelers.
Looked like Deion Figures was the one with the illegal block. There's Bobby April, the special teams coach in the background.
Number 21 by the receivers, 10 yards. It'll be first down and 10. That's a timeout.
Yes, it is. Deion Figures will be back with Pittsburgh, getting back to the offense. Kevin Green was banged up on that last series.
Yeah, they've been looking at his right knee. Don't know exactly what the problem is, but he's been trying to flex it a little bit.
The Steelers start out at their 38-yard line halfway through the first quarter with no score. And O'Donnell puts it up. It's caught by Thigpen, and he has a first down. Covered by the right corner, Darrell Lewis, and that is good for 16 for Yancey, his second catch of the day.
There it is again, another first down pass for Neil O'Donnell. And Yancey Thigpen has really just been sensational this year. A guy that was originally cut by the San Diego Chargers, a special teams star a year ago, over 1,000 yards now for the season, and he has been the major surprise for the Steelers this year.
First down at the Houston 46. O'Donnell looking deep. The pass intended for the tight end, Mark Bruner, who comes off a strong game last week against the Browns. Barrow and Bishop combined on the coverage. Well, Yancey Thigpen with 2 more catches now has 66 for the season and joins a select group. Some pretty good names in there who have hit the 1,000-yard mark in the Steeler uniform.
Kind of surprising, Lynn Swann's name is not on there.
Second and 10 at the 46. Eric Pegram, who was not able to get going last week against the Browns, bringing inside the 45. Henry Ford, Joe Bowden on the stop. In fact, Bill Cowher went to Bam Morris for the most part in the second half, and Morris played well.
And it's really difficult to understand, though, why the Steelers are having so much trouble running the football. For the first 3 quarters against the Browns last week, they averaged only 1 yard per carry. They're trying to work in Pegram and Bam Morris. He's the change-up guy. But the most effective formation has been this one, when they bring Cordell Stewart in the 5 wide receiver set.
And there is Cordell on the field for the second time. It's a 3rd and 9. O'Donnell looking for Thigpen. Stewart also out on the flat. And again, the Steelers are forced to punt.
That time Chuck Cecil coming on a safety blitz right up the middle, and this is going to be Houston's game plan today. When they come out in that 5 wide receiver set, there are only 5 guys that can possibly block up front. So Houston is going to bring at least 6 all day, and that time it worked.
That is Travis Hanna. In his 3rd year out of the University of Southern California. Letting it go, and it carries in. It was chased down by Chris Oldham, but could not get to it. They'll bring it out to the 20. And right here we'll check in with Greg Gumbel. Greg?
All right, Marv, in Carolina, the Colts have struck first. Jim Harbaugh from 31 yards out. Sean Dawkins on the receiving end with the extra point. Indianapolis on top of Carolina. The score is 7-0 in the first. Marv?
All right, Greg, so Jim Harbaugh continuing his fine play right throughout. He has a shot for Pro Bowl honors.
He has a shot for MVP honors. He has been unbelievable.
Houston from the 20. And on the out, it's Jeffries. Several yards short of the first down. Carnell Lake and Myron Bell combine on Haywood Jeffries, who now has 48 catches for the season.
And Marv, he's covered out there working on Searcy's hand. I don't know if there's an injury or just trying to get it retaped. They're working on the outside against Carnell Lake, a safety man who is trying to make the conversion to corner because of all the injuries. Rod Woodson and Dion Figures, and he has certainly been the center of attention for a lot of offenses this year.
Yes, he was 2 weeks ago. Cincinnati Bengals went his way right throughout the game. This is Thomas. Rodney Thomas has not been able to find an opening. Bill Johnson on the tackle of Rodney Thomas.
You know, Bill Johnson is just one of those guys that fell out of the sky into the lap of Bill Cowher. He was cut by the Cleveland Browns, had a DUI during the offseason, during the summer, suspended by the Browns, and then cut him. But he was thought very highly of coming out of the draft. A lot of people thought he would have been a #1 pick, but for an injury to his knee just before the draft.
3 wideouts for the Oilers, facing a 3rd and 5 at the 25. Chandler lost the snap and had a cover up. And here comes the punting unit.
Look over here on the defensive left side, Kevin Green and Greg Lloyd on the same side. That's enough of a distraction for any quarterback. Imagine lining up underneath the center and seeing both those guys over there on your right-hand side, and the last thing you're thinking about is getting the snap.
Chris, I tell you, this is the 2nd week I've seen the Steelers. They are so quick. They just disrupt the opponent with their quickness. And it led to the botched snap and the punt by Camarillo. Hastings on the return. Able to bring inside the 40-yard line. 41-yard punt, 6-yard return. Bowden on the tackle.
AT&T.
Into today, 64 catches.
You know, Marv, he probably wouldn't have gone to Winston-Salem State, but for the fact that he tried to take the SAT test 3 different times. The first time he got lost on the East Carolina campus, never found it. The next time he overslept, didn't take it. When he finally took it, he passed it, but the national signing date was already gone. All the big schools, they weren't interested anymore.
Out, it's to the ground for Bam Morris. And he is stopped by Joe Bowden. That first line of reasoning from Yancey, I believe, is the same that you used the first time around for the SAT.
Throughout my college career, yes.
6-yard pickup. It's a 2nd down and 4 at the 47. We're just under 4 minutes remaining in this opening quarter. Marv Albert with Chris Collinsworth from Three Rivers in Pittsburgh. A Steeler victory, and they clinch the AFC Central as they are gunning for their 6th consecutive win. And again to the ground. And Morris is turned back. Combination of Henry Ford and Kenny Davidson, the 2 defensive ends. Davidson, number 90, a former Steeler, played 4 years with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Here's a look at big Henry Ford, too, number 92. This has been sort of an underachieving defensive line, and if really there's been a weakness, it has been their inability to get to the quarterback this season. They really thought that between Davidson and Henry Ford that some of these young players would get there, but they just simply have not.
3rd down and 1. And O'Donnell going incomplete. Charles Johnson took the hard hit and not able to hold on as Chris Dishman and Chuck Cecil converged on Johnson.
The ball thrown just a little bit high. Charles Johnson certainly had a chance for this one, especially with those gloves. You know, those gloves really make a difference for most people. They have little tacky stuff, kind of like playing racquetball with a glove. You know, they just stick right on there, and it's easier to catch a football, but didn't work for Charles that time.
And the punt by Stark. Travis Hanna let it bounce. Looked like it hit one of the players and is being covered up inside the 20-yard line. Myron Bell, the strong safety, member of the special teams unit, able to get to the football inside the 20-yard line. We have 2 minutes and 40 seconds to go in this first quarter. Still no score. And a reminder, we hope you're with us tonight right here on NBC for a special called Extremely Weird. And it is, Chris, sounds like a show that might contain excerpts from our broadcast. And that's followed by the comedy hits Mad About You and Hope and Gloria, plus the world premiere movie Shadow of a Doubt starring Brian Dennehy right here on NBC. Houston from the 20-yard line. And the give is to Thomas. Rodney Thomas. In his rookie season out of Texas A&M, he was a 3rd-round draft pick, Houston's 2nd pick on the 3rd round. Actually came to the Oilers as part of the deal, the package for Warren Moon.
And he was sensational in college at Texas A&M, had 45 career touchdowns there, and in high school was even better. One season in high school, he had 3,700 yards, had a game where he had 450 yards on the ground. 450 yards. I've never even heard of that before.
2nd and 4 from the 26. Off the fake. Chandler in trouble. Facing the pressure throughout this opening quarter. Joel Steed with the sack. 2nd Steeler sack of the quarter.
And for Joel Steed, right over the center, this has to be a big play for him, because coming off of that steroid suspension, some people wonder whether or not he was still going to be in football shape. The Steelers weren't even allowed to have any contact with him whatsoever, but he certainly solidifies this defense when he's back in there.
It's a 3rd and 15 at the 15. Chris Sanders, who has been quiet thus far, split wide left side. Chandler looking that way, but he's taken down once again. This time it's Brinson Buckner with his 3rd sack of the season, and the Steelers with their 3rd of the quarter.
Well, if Chris Chandler thought 5 sacks in the first meeting was a lot, he has 3 already here in the first quarter. When you get Steed back at the nose tackle position, and that gives you a chance to move Brinson Buckner, who had been playing the nose, back to his defensive end position, this defensive line gets awfully tough. Ray Seals also having a good year up front.
And Houston with only 8 total yards in this first quarter. Camarillo has been very busy. Hastings on the return. And he's brought down to the 49 by Aaron Wortham. 44-yard punt, 5-yard return. And we have Steelers and Oilers getting involved. Jason Gilden for the Pittsburgh Steelers, second-year man from Oklahoma State, had to be pulled away. Bill Cowher in the face of Gilden. You know, I'm not a great...
I thought I saw the same thing.
Right? I love you, but, right?
I love you, but.
Right.
If you get a flag thrown on you, I'm going to kill you. Something like that was how that conversation went.
I'm so happy that's confirmed. That's the first time I've ever successfully read lips from this far.
No question about it. You know, with Cowher, you can definitely read the lips because he's right there. You're going to know what this guy's saying, if it's just body language alone.
I love you, but.
I love you, but. The most uttered phrase on God's green earth.
52 seconds left in the quarter, and here is O'Donnell firing downfield. The pass intended for the tight end, Mark Bruner. He's trying to get Bruner involved. Bruner had a strong game. In fact, last week, his best game in his NFL career. Mark Bruner, rookie from the University of Washington.
Hasn't exactly been an exciting offensive day here so far. Both teams sort of tearing up the middle of the field. One first down apiece.
Well, Cordell is back on the field. Slot right. And O'Donnell throwing up high again, looking for Bruner. Took a pop, and a flag thrown against Houston. And things beginning to heat up between these two clubs.
Unnecessary roughness. Number 58 on the defense. 15 yards. Touchdown!
Incredible. Joe Bowden at the end of this play. It's over. Takes a cheap shot. 15 yards. It would have been 3rd down and 10. You just can't make those kind of dumb mistakes. That's ridiculous.
So with 41 seconds remaining in the first quarter, it is a first down for the Steelers at the Oiler 36-yard line. Pittsburgh double tight end with Bruner and Hayes. And Marv. Short pickup. Sprague Vesey on the stop.
Yeah, there really is a great matchup going on the field today between Dermontti Dawson and the middle linebacker Michael Barrow. We were talking to Michael Barrow last night, and he said that if they can just keep Dermontti Dawson off, I mean, he's one of the quickest centers around our defensive linemen. If they can nick him a little bit coming out, there'll be nobody there to block him. That time, Barrow was able to escape Dawson and made the tackle.
2nd and 7 at the 33. And it is completed to Thigpen, breaking the tackle, and he's in for the touchdown. 33-yard touchdown play. Yancey Thigpen beating the left corner, Cris Dishman.
Wow. First of all, the gutsy catch coming over the middle. Now watch the moves. He gets away from everybody here. About 4 different guys miss him. Yancey Thigpen headed for Hawaii this year. What a sensational year he is having.
Yancey's 3rd catch of the quarter for 58 yards. And here is Norm Johnson for the extra point. And that closes out this first quarter. It's the Steelers with a 7-0 lead.
Wow.
A touchdown pass from O'Donnell to Thigpen for O'Donnell, his 11th of the season. Thigpen, his 4th. And that is Dennis Lundy, the rookie from Northwestern, who's replaced the injured Mel Gray and awaiting the kickoff. Here's Lundy from the 10. And lost his balance. He slipped and lands at the 20-yard line.
Marv, I ran a lot of those slant routes in my career, and when you catch them, you're thinking, oh, please don't let me die. Yancey Thigpen was thinking touchdown. As soon as he got his hands on the football, he just accelerates past the other guys. He gets his head down, finds the next guy, Chuck Cecil, makes a couple of moves, and gets in the end zone. That is just sensational play from a wide receiver.
Second quarter just getting underway. Chandler on the draw for Thomas. Chris Chandler has been hammered in this first half. As you mentioned, he was sacked 5 times in the earlier meeting. He's already been sacked 3 times. Chris Chandler, originally drafted by the Colts in the 3rd round back in 1988, spent 2 years with Indianapolis, then on to Tampa Bay, Arizona, and the Rams. He started 6 games for the Rams last season, then signed with Houston as a free agent. 2nd down and 8. Look out. Penalty flag is thrown. Chandler going incomplete. Intended for the tight end, Frank Wycheck.
And that's how fast Greg Lloyd is. Greg Lloyd can jump off sides, stop, go back across the line of scrimmage, and still get his hands on the quarterback. And really, they shouldn't let that play go, because Greg Lloyd is going to come across the line of scrimmage, and then so he doesn't hurt the quarterback.
95 on the defense, 5 yards, still 2nd down.
So he doesn't hurt the quarterback, he stops, but then the officials let the play go on, and Chris Chandler could have very easily come out there and thrown a touchdown pass. He passed the guy on his head. He's trying to make up for his other image.
But saying on the next play, I will kill you. It is a 2nd down and 3 at the 28-yard line. Here's Thomas. Rodney Thomas not able to get going. Myron Bell in his path.
Yeah, and any slow developing plays with Greg Lloyd around, you can forget about. You know, there's the counter tray coming at him, and Greg Lloyd said, to heck with that. He ran right past the blockers, just right to the ball carrier. I'm not sure anybody really wanted to block him, to tell you the truth.
Brings up a 3rd and 3 at the 28 for the Houston Oilers, who come in at 5-7. They have won 3 of their last 5 games. They still have an outside shot at a wild card berth. Chandler completes for the 1st down. He is Derek Russell. Derek Russell, who's made it back from damaged ligaments in his foot. He returned from the injury last week. He was stopped by the free safety, Darren Perry.
And that time they got a little protection. Greg Lloyd dropping back into coverage, and this time Derek Russell just finding a hole. He's coming back off of a foot injury. Certainly helps to have your 3rd wide receiver healthy for these kinds of pass plays, those 3rd down and medium. Big plays in the ball game.
And for Houston, only their 2nd 1st down. Thomas to the outside. Thomas running well, found a blocker, and has a 1st down. Levon Kirkland ran him out. It's a 15-yard gain.
And Rodney Thomas, that was the same play that he broke for 74 yards last week. He is doing a nice job this season. Everybody talks about Curtis Martin and Terrell Davis. Well, Rodney Thomas right there in the mix ahead of Rashaan Salam, who was drafted in the 1st round.
With that 15-yard pickup, 10 carries, 32 yards, certainly contributing to his average, because Pittsburgh had him stopped cold in the 1st quarter. It's a 1st down at the 48. 2.5 gone by in the 2nd quarter. Diving catch made by Chris Sanders. But he was out of bounds. It is incomplete.
I know this is going to sound nitpicky, but when you dive for a ball along the sideline, you have to dive with your legs down. You can see his upper body is going to hit the ground first, whereas if you can dive and keep your feet along the ground, he might have been able to drag the feet and get the completion.
Chris Sanders on fire in recent games. Last 2 games, he's caught 9 passes, 207 yards, 4 touchdowns. Had the game of his life in his hometown last week in Denver. Couple of touchdowns, 5 receptions. 2nd down and 10. And again to the sideline. This time it's Thomas. Rodney Thomas with a short pickup. Cornell Lake providing the coverage.
And, you know, I really have to give Dick LeBeau, the defensive coordinator of the Steelers, a lot of credit this season. He has had so much to deal with, the injuries, of course, to Rod Woodson and Deion Figures, and Cornell Lake going over from safety, where he was a Pro Bowler a year ago, trying to play corner. Dom Capers left as the coordinator, and Dick said the only thing I didn't want to do is screw it up. But given the problems they've had here this season, he has done an amazing job.
It's a 3rd and 9 from the 47. Here they come. Chandler got it away. Oh, a heavy hit on Todd McNair. Darren Perry was right on McNair as he caught the ball.
And that is Dick LeBeau's scheme right there. What he tries to do when he gets you in third down and long situations is force you to throw the hot read. They bring the strong safety blitz to the top of your screen. That forces the breakout by McNair. Just come up and make the tackle. The punter comes on the field.
Andre Hastings is back, waiting for the fourth punt of this first half from Rick Camarillo. The NFL's all-time leader in most punts inside the 20. Takes the high snap. And again, the Steelers let it go. They'll bring it out to the 20-yard line. 43-yard punt. 10.5 remaining in the second quarter. Ashton gave him a look as if to say, you got to be kidding me.
We've had the gong shows off the air. That would have played well.
But Rich right there, number 6 in terms of most career punts. Dave Jennings, one-time Giant and Jet, leading the way. Ron Stark is number 5. The Steelers start out from their 20-yard line. They lead the Oilers 7-0 and go to the ground. Bam Marv out to the 25. Blaine Bishop, the strong safety, on the tackle.
Brendan Stye pulling out, gets a nice block on the outside. The young rookie from Nebraska, and just sort of grabs hold, knocks the defensive player to his knees. And then finally, they're getting a little something going now on the ground. The Steelers are, and Bam Morris in particular.
And Cordell Stewart, who has not touched the ball to this point, back on the field for the second down and 5. Morris again. Stopped by the right defensive end, Henry Ford, short of the first down. We're set for an update. Let's go to our New York studios for Greg Gumbel.
All right, Marv, we're expecting an aerial show in Green Bay, and Jeff Blake doing his part. Up top for the AFC's leading receiver, Carl Pickens, 54 yards to set up a Doug Pelfrey field goal, and the Bengals have pulled even with Green Bay at Lambeau Field. It's a 3-3 tie in the second, Marv.
All right, Greg, and the Cincinnati Bengals rooting for the Houston Oilers here today. And Cordell Stewart is in over center, playing quarterback for the first time today. On the rollout, takes it by himself and picks up the first down. So it goes to the option. Picked up 7. Dishman on the tackle.
And remember what Jeff Fisher told us yesterday? Bill Cowher, he loves that guy. Jeff Fisher said the one thing that we were concerned about as a staff was the option play. That you don't see much of it, obviously, in the National Football League, so we had to go over the rules, who has the pitch, who has the quarterback, all those different things. But believe me, Pittsburgh's running it better than anybody else in the NFL is going to defense it at this point.
And the stat line on Cordell, at the first time that he has touched the ball, picked up the first down at the 35. And here's O'Donnell throwing deep, intended for Charles Johnson, who is covered by Cris Dishman.
Looked like Charles Johnson had Dishman beat on the play. Dishman had a tough time with Anthony Miller last week, and Johnson just a nice move at the line of scrimmage, just barely overthrown here. Just missed.
O'Donnell, 3 of 10, 58 yards, all 3 receptions, handled by Yancey Thigpen. Second and 10, as you see Cordell Stewart in the slot to the left. 8.5 remaining, first half. Off the fake, it is Morris. Morris out to the 40. Henry Ford, second-year man from Arkansas, on the stop. Bam Morris, 25 yards, 6 carries. Bam Morris in his second year out of Texas Tech did not get off to the good start, coming off a tremendous rookie season. Had a back problem, overweight earlier in the year.
And he was supposed to be the heir apparent for Barry Foster, and no one seemed too concerned when Barry Foster left here, and because they had Bam Morris, who was their best rookie last season and did so many different things. It never really worked out.
And the Steelers want to talk it over. A timeout is taken.
Dad?
Yeah?
there's
All right, Bill Cowher congratulating Cordell Stewart for that option run, saying, I love you, and in this case, I mean it. And Cordell Stewart remaining on the field, lined up in the slot to the left. That's Mills in motion. 3rd down and 5 as we resume, and it's dropped. And a flag is thrown. Andre Hastings not able to hang on, but a penalty marker is down. Against Houston.
Well, you stop him on 3rd down and get a holding call.
Holding, number 25 on the defense, 5 yards, first down.
That is the backup defensive back, Torrey Hunter, 3rd round draft pick, rookie from Washington State.
Torrey Hunter, just before Charles Johnson comes out of this break, just going to grab hold.
So Pittsburgh with a first down from their 45. 7:35 remaining in the half. They lead 7-0. And O'Donnell had a wide open Yancey Thigpen, and the pass was just thrown slightly off.
And what a move Yancey Thigpen put on, I believe it was Cris Dishman. And Dishman is still down. Now that's Darrell Lewis. Darrell Lewis, who is leading the NFL, tied for lead with 6 interceptions. And Thigpen just had him completely turned around. The Oilers came with the blitz, leaving one-on-one coverage on the outside, and you can see Darrell Lewis just left in the turf. Boy, that was almost just a sensational catch.
Well, they're checking out Darrell Lewis. We'll take a break. 7:33 left, first half. Being checked over at the sideline, an enormously important man on this Houston defensive unit with 6 interceptions. He had 5 last year. Being replaced by Tamor Barnes, 2nd-year player from North Texas. And here's O'Donnell off the roll on the 2nd and 10. And the question is, did he catch it in bounds? Bill Cowher indicating yes. Ernie Mills at the sideline, but it is ruled incomplete. He was out of bounds.
Originally on this play, it looked like Cordell Stewart was going to come wide open, but at the last second, Michael Barrow turned around and found him, and that forced Neil O'Donnell to go the other way.
Whoa.
That was pretty close. That was about as well as Ernie Mills could do it.
It is a 3rd and 10 at the 45. And O'Donnell throwing the middle. Caught by Thigpen. What a catch. Triple covered. Was able to readjust and come up with it.
Yeah, the reason he had to readjust because they weren't throwing him the ball. And now the officials are saying no. O'Donnell's down there arguing. Thigpen's arguing.
Well, the official saying that he caught it on a hop. As he made the adjustment, he scooped it up, and it is waved off. We'll take another look at it.
But the pass was intended for Andre Hastings, I believe, coming across the field, and then just all of a sudden a great adjustment to the ball by Yancey Thigpen.
Good call. He one-hopped it. So Travis Hanna receiving the run, start, punt. And Hanna heading to the middle of the pack is taken down at the 24-yard line. With 7 minutes to go in this first half, the Steelers with a 7-0 lead on the first quarter touchdown pass from O'Donnell on a 33-yarder to Thigpen. Reminder, next Saturday following the Browns and the Vikings, it's the John Wooden Classic here on NBC. Charles O'Bannon and the defending NCAA champion UCLA Bruins go up against the Terrapins of Maryland. The John Wooden Classic following NFL action next Saturday right here. Houston from their 24-yard line. Chandler, who has not been able to get anything going, firing deep, and he has Sanders. Chris Sanders for the touchdown, 76 yards. Sanders beating Carnell Lake and converting his 8th touchdown of the season. What a rookie year it has been for Cris Sanders.
Marv, do you have any idea how difficult this catch was to keep your balance and score this touchdown? I thought this ball was overthrown all the way, but Cris Sanders with this phenomenal speed just runs the football down. And poor Carnell Lake, that's not bad position for a guy playing the cornerback position that's originally a safety. But Cris Sanders, one of the fastest players in college football last year at Ohio State.
And they were setting this up right throughout the half. That is his first catch of the game. Del Greco with the extra point, and the Steelers and Oilers tied at 7.
Honda presents Great Drive.
This is incredible.
Right in the middle of your screen there, he's going to get caught up on the crossing route, and that means that in the back, it's Carnell Lake one-on-one against Cris Sanders. I guarantee you that was not an intended play. I have to believe that Darren Perry was just out of position there.
And for Sanders, his 6th touchdown catch the last 4 games. Ernie Mills with the return. Mills got to the outside, breaking tackles. Beautifully done as he gets to the 40. Darrell Lewis on the tackle. A 31-yard kick return for Mills, who is among the AFC leaders in this department.
And you know, Marv, you just have to wonder how far this Pittsburgh Steelers team can go without Rod Woodson. I mean, they really are struggling at the cornerback position. Dick LeBeau is so limited in what he can do defensively. You can't blitz as much as what they used to. Can't play that 8-man front because you're afraid to play man-to-man coverage. And there you saw exactly why. Look at Rod Woodson, who struggling, says that it's just the hardest part is just trying to be patient with this recovery.
Well, they have kept him on the active roster. The hope is he will make it back for the playoffs. Pegram picked up a yard on the play, strung out by Darrell Lewis. Rod Woodson, recovering from knee surgery, hopes to start running during the course of this week.
Carnell Lake, I mean, you have to give the guy credit because he doesn't want to be the one playing in Rod Woodson's slot. He'd rather play safety. He was a Pro Bowler there a year ago. They came and they asked him, and he talked about how unselfish he was trying to come in there and make that play, but he just isn't a quarterback. I mean, that just is not his natural position.
2nd down and 9. 81 Johnson in motion. O'Donnell is taken down. Henry Ford coming up with the Oilers' first sack of the game, and for Ford, it is his 3rd of the season. Houston with only 18 all year.
And for Henry Ford, this has to be a thrill. Here's a kid, he came in 40 pounds overweight last season as a 1st-round draft choice. No question, he was a bust in his 1st year. Their coaches described him as having a Cadillac body with a Volkswagen engine.
Yes.
And this guy, he took some heat last year. He came back in much better shape. And he's a big reason why those sack numbers have been declining over the years. They just haven't gotten the production out of that defensive line.
And Blaine Bishop is down. Also, the departure of Sean Jones and William Fuller certainly contributing to the different defensive scheme that the Oilers are running the past few years.
Yeah, and Ray Childress with the shoulder injury, that has certainly helped. And they do not need Blaine Bishop to be hurt. He's the main guy in that 46 defense that Jeff Fisher likes to run. The strong safety position, you have to be part linebacker, part man-to-man cover guy, and he certainly would be a major, major loss for the Oilers.
5:54 remaining in this first half. When we resume, it's a 3rd and 13 at the 37-yard line. Well, next Sunday, NBC Sports presents another NFL doubleheader, getting underway 12:30 Eastern Time with the NFL on NBC. Most of you will see Pittsburgh and Oakland. And in the early matchup, Jim Kelly and the Buffalo Bills will try to contain the NFL's leader in receiving yards, Isaac Bruce, and the St. Louis Rams. In the late games, most of you will see the Steelers and Raiders. Others will see the Broncos hosting the Seahawks.
The Pittsburgh-Oakland game should be a heck of a game. That may well decide exactly who the strength is right now in the AFC.
Let's see how the injury occurred. Blaine Bishop, hard-hitting safety in his 3rd year out of Ball State in Indiana. And there is Bishop on the coverage of Johnson. Looked like the knee buckled.
Oh, that's really unusual.
Bill Cowher telling us that he has such respect for Blaine Bishop. He says it's like a linebacker playing the safety position. He's about 5'9", but 197 pounds.
Yeah, and he was considered to be too slow to play cornerback, too small to play safety, but he is a big guy, benches over 400 pounds. You can see the big arms on him, and he certainly has developed into a very good player. He's the emotional leader out there, too. You talk to this Oilers defensive team, and they say he's the guy that really gets us going.
Cordell Stewart lined up in the slot to the left with his 3rd and 13. And Hastings in the backfield. O'Donnell stepping up, and O'Donnell's pass is caught for the 1st down. Charles Johnson brought down by Cris Dishman. It is a 1st down for the Steelers.
Very good cornerbacks for the Houston Oilers. Cris Dishman, one of the better corners around, and Charles Johnson trying to establish a name for himself. Looked like Dishman even got there a little bit early, and Johnson's still able to hold on. Johnson, the #1 pick from a year ago.
Neil O'Donnell so effective on 3rd and long and able to pick up the 1st down at midfield. O'Donnell to the sideline and comes up short. Intended for Ernie Mills. You can see Neil O'Donnell, 3rd and long, completing 67%. 15 1st downs, 3 touchdowns.
You know, Marv, he was a free agent at the end of this season, and I am absolutely shocked that they haven't made more of an effort to try and sign Neil O'Donnell. If they didn't believe in O'Donnell before this season, the difference when he was in there as opposed to Mike Tomczak and Jim Miller was amazing this year.
2nd and 10, Stewart in motion. O'Donnell going the other way. Thigpen able to hang on, although he took the jarring hit from Tamor Barnes. It is short of the 1st down. They're about 2.5 yards away.
Are we impressed with Yancey Thigpen yet? You know, the thing that's the most impressive about him is the way that he hangs on to the football in a crowd. He has no fear whatsoever. But after you've chased kickoffs and punts and done all the special teams for years, believe me, playing wide receiver is like a vacation.
It's a 3rd and 2 at the Houston 40. Mills in motion. And this is Hastings. A little pitch for Andre Hastings, and he has a 1st down. Steve Jackson ran him out. But what a diversified offense we're seeing from Ron Earhart. It's unbelievable. You forget that you're watching the Pittsburgh Steelers.
It's Earhart now. This guy is amazing. You got to know the history of Ron Earhart. He was the offensive coordinator for the Giants back in their glory days, going to the Super Bowl, and Bill Parcells, and they were boring and they ran the football. Then he came here and the Steelers were boring and they ran the football. And now all of a sudden this guy is like he's wearing bell-bottom pants or something. I don't know who he is anymore.
1st down at the 26-yard line. Eric Pegram stacked up. Michael Barrow among several Oilers to make the stop. Bell-bottom pants.
Well, you know, I don't know where these things come from. But the one thing that Ron Earhart has to be concerned about is the fact that they have not been able to run the football. And I think a big reason why, although I think the Steelers disagree with me, is the fact that Eric Green's not here anymore. I mean, he was essentially a 6th offensive lineman, 290 pounds, playing that tight end position. He hasn't had nearly the impact with the Miami Dolphins, but he was certainly a major factor in that running game.
It's a 2nd down and 8, and Stewart on the field in motion. O'Donnell looking that way, and then goes to Mills, and that's incomplete. Took a hard hit from Odie Harris. Harris, an 8-year man out of Sam Houston State. Signed as a free agent after spending time with Dallas and Cleveland and Arizona.
And these are the kind of catches that Yancey Thigpen has been making. Right there, you get your hands on the football, and Ernie Mills just unable to wrap it up. That's a huge shot, though, by Odie Harris. And Odie Harris he's been around the Bucks, the Cowboys, the Browns, last year with the Cardinals and Buddy Ryan, so he knows what it's like to fight for a position.
9th play of the drive. 3rd down and 8. The game is tied at 7. O'Donnell with the long look and going deep, and it's picked off. Chuck Cecil with the interception. So Cecil with his 2nd pick of the season. That pass was intended for Cordell Stewart.
And Neil O'Donnell fell in love with his toy that time, Cordell Stewart. Stewart is going to run the out and up, and there just absolutely was nothing there. Chuck Cecil just sitting and waiting for the football. Going to come out, run a little out, and then go right up the field, and it just wasn't there. I mean, sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not there. Chuck Cecil in the back is just going to fall right in his lap, and for Neil O'Donnell, that's a shock. Only his 4th interception of the entire year, but sometimes you can fall in love with a guy, and I think that's what happened there.
Neil O'Donnell, such an efficient quarterback, had gone 135 passes without an interception. 3 straight games without an interception. So the Oilers back to the offense. Rodney Thomas finding a hole. And with a burst, is able to run it out to the 23-yard line. And he's moved the chains. It is a 1st down.
And there was a rare hole by the Houston Oilers. Rodney Thomas doing a nice job to even get down the field. You saw Mark Stepnoski getting down the field and making another block.
Chandler going over the middle to Thomas. And that just picked up a couple. He was met immediately by Greg Lloyd. 2 minutes remaining in this 1st half. We'll be right back. Cris Collinsworth, Houston and Pittsburgh tied at 7. 2 minutes left in this 1st half. Chuck Cecil has to feel particularly good about that interception a moment ago off a difficult game he had last week against Denver. Houston coming into today leading with 29 takeaways. Leading the AFC in that department, so they come up with number 30 on the interception by Cecil. 2nd down and 6 for the Oilers from the 28-yard line. Chandler getting better protection, although that was almost interception intended for Todd McNair, and Chris Oldham had a shot at it.
And let's give a credit to Carnell Lake as well. He was working one-on-one against Chris Sanders, and you could tell that Chris Chandler really wanted to go to him, but that time Carnell Lake got the better of that matchup.
Yes, Carnell Lake with the only touchdown of his career in the earlier meeting back on September 10th at the Astrodome. Chandler 8 of 10 for 111 yards, 1 touchdown. 3rd down and 6. And it's broken up. Again, Oldham, this time stepping in front of Sanders.
Back-to-back plays there by Chris Oldham, who has emerged as the nickel back here. Chandler had plenty of time to throw the football, and Oldham just a quick reaction and almost came up with the interception.
Last week, Chris Oldham with an interception of the game against the Browns, his 1st interception since back in 1990. Rich Camarillo will punt for the 5th time today.
You know, the Oilers don't look like they've got a lot going, but the score is tied 7-7, and Pittsburgh's just keeping them in the game.
And a timeout is called by Houston. So the Steelers and Oilers each have 2 timeouts left.
So this is what you...
Allen of the Kansas City Chiefs. It's all coming up at halftime. Camarillo just did get it away. And it is down at the 41-yard line. It's a 30-yard punt. And once again, things getting a bit testy.
Well, Marv, it's a rule that's in the National Football League as the punting team. If you touch the football but you don't pick it up and hand it to the referee, once it's touched by the kicking team, the receiving team can scoop it up and run with it. And even if you fumble it, the worst you can do is get the ball back where they touched it. So I think that's what happened there at the end of that play. Been bored. I've been reading the rule books a lot, and there's a lot of time on my hands.
You have obviously had a particularly free week. More so than usual.
Yeah.
So the Steelers start out from the 41-yard line, out of the shotgun. O'Donnell sets up the screen. John L. Williams called down by Tamor Barnes, and for John L., that is his first reception.
Man, I keep waiting for this Pittsburgh offense to get going. They've been averaging 30 points a game during this 5-game winning streak, and they just been out of sync today.
2nd down and 7. And he swings it. Once again, Williams. Steve Jackson on the stop. Clock is running. We come up on 1 minute remaining in the half. Each team with 2 timeouts left. 3rd down and 5 from the 46. O'Donnell stepping it up and completes for the first down. He has Mills, who is taken down by Eddie Robinson and Darrell Lewis. A 13-yard hookup. Clock running, as you see, down at 37 and counting. And now the clock is stopped by O'Donnell.
Well, once again, the Steelers have a little something going, and it's like Darrell Lewis is once again injured. Boy, that really hurts you when you get into that 4 wide receiver and 5 wide receiver set when you don't have your best cover man out there. That was a nice catch that time by Ernie Mills. Ernie Mills is a guy who's the 3rd down receiver. 14 of his 23 catches, now 15 of 24 on the season, have been for first down, so that is his role on this thing.
2nd and 10 at the Houston 41. O'Donnell getting the protection and has an open man. Ernie Mills. Run out by Cris Dishman, and it will be a 1st and goal for the Steelers.
Not exactly sure what happened to Houston's coverage here when O'Donnell scrambled around. Ernie Mills just left with nobody in the vicinity. There were a couple of guys wide open. Charles Johnson was wide open too, and Ernie Mills even managed to get up and get out of bounds.
Picked up 34 on the play. 1st and goal at the 7. 23 seconds remaining in the half. The game is tied at 7. O'Donnell, the end zone. Touchdown! Mark Bruner, the tight end, beating Odie Harris. And for Bruner, the rookie from the University of Washington, his 3rd touchdown of the season.
And Marv, what I think is happening is Houston just looks confused out there. Darrell Lewis out, Blaine Bishop out. They just don't know what they're doing in the defensive secondary right now.
Now the point after by Norm Johnson. Ron Stark will put it down. Neil O'Donnell on this drive, 5 of 6, 59 yards, capping it off with a 7-yard touchdown strike to Bruner.
2nd straight week now for Mark Bruner. Going to come down, just find a little hole in the zone defense. But you can see the Oilers running guys on late, and they're confused and don't really know what's going on. And that's one of the problems you have in this league, especially late in the season. When guys start to get nicked up, you have to throw people out there on the field that really haven't had a lot of practice time, and I think it's hurting Houston right now.
The Steelers taking a 14-7 lead with 19 seconds to go in the first half.
It was a big turn of events right before the half. The fact that they were able to get the Oilers to go 3 and out and then put together that drive. That's the kind of offense we've been seeing out of the Steelers during this 5-game winning streak.
Cris Dishman in a discussion with the head coach, Jeff Fisher. 19 seconds remaining in this first half. Dennis Lundy is the deep man. Let's see what Norm Johnson does with the kickoff, though. Just puts it on the ground. And handled by Joe Bowden. Clock stopped with 15 seconds remaining in the half. Fred McAfee on the stop of Bowden. Well, you look at this first half, Chris. Houston with 131 total yards, but 76 came on that one play. That's a misleading stat when you look at 131 yards. That's the touchdown pass from Chandler to Sanders.
Well, Marv, last week against the Broncos, they scored 42 points. Got 442 yards, 186 on the ground, played nearly a perfect offensive football game, and today this Steeler defense really has just shut them down.
Well, 3 sacks by Pittsburgh all in the first quarter. Chandler's gotten better protection in the second quarter from the 41-yard line. With time running down to the half. Chandler's hit down. That is sack number 4. Ray Seals making it 7.5 for the season.
Ray Seals just going to go with the pure bull rush, and the bull rush, all that is you just get a big guy pushing against the big guy and just sort of spuffed him right back into Cris Chandler for the 4th sack of the half.
And that is how the first half will conclude. Pittsburgh with a 14-7 lead on Houston. The Domino's Pizza NFL on NBC halftime report is next after this from your local station. 30, but a penalty marker is down. A 24-yard kick return.
And that one was pretty easy to see, the penalty flag there. Dante Jones just with a push in the back.
Illegal block. Number 54, half the distance to the goal. First down at 10.
And number 54 is the backup linebacker, Dante Jones. I'll look at the Coors Light halftime statistics. Pittsburgh has dominated Houston with the one big play, the 76-yard touchdown pass from Chandler to Sanders, and that really has contributed to their stat line.
Yeah, and other than that, Houston has 6 net yards passing. Now, they've got a few more yards than that, but you subtract out the sacks, and it comes out to 6 net yards.
Steelers start from the 9. Dale O'Donnell, the quarterback, the running back is Eric Pegram. And Pegram gets the call. Michael Barrow, Eddie Robinson. 2 linebackers come up to make the stop. The Steelers with a record of 8-4, a win here this afternoon, and they clinch the division. They're going for their 6th straight wins, the 5 straight over Jacksonville, at Chicago in overtime, at Cincinnati, and 2 wins over Cleveland. Bill Cowher telling us that the Chicago game was the turning point. Remember, the Steelers were 3-4, and Cowher declared it's a new season. Let's get off to a fresh start, and they have won 5 in a row. O'Donnell, incomplete, intended for the tight end Mark Bruner. Now, Chris, too bad Bill Cowher didn't think of the new season concept earlier, like back in game 3 or 4.
If it worked that well going in, then should have just started it right from the beginning of the season. But Bill Cowher has done such a terrific job. This would be 4 consecutive times that his team made the playoffs, and only the 2nd time in club history that they would have done that. Back in the 70s, they made it 8 straight years from 72 to 79. But they still have defeated just 1 team with a winning record, and that was Chicago, you talked about.
3rd down and 5. Blaine Bishop, incidentally, is back. He was shaken up earlier. Darrell Lewis is still out. O'Donnell able to complete the thick pen. Runs by the flag that was thrown. Has a first down. Cecil and Dishman combined to make the stop. 29-yard pickup if it holds up. Would have been an interesting scene had Thigpen slipped on the penalty marker that was thrown.
12 men on the field by the defense, holding number 73 on the offense. Those penalties offset. We'll replay 3rd down.
Well, Bill Cowher, no stranger to the 12-man on the field call, but this time it's against the opposition.
Well, you see how many we've got out there on the football field. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That would be 12.
Yes.
And I'm very proud of myself.
And it's against the Oilers. And a hold call against the Steelers, so it reverts back to the 3rd down and 5 of the 14.
You know, you hit on it. One of the real highlights of the season, I thought, when Bill Cowher stuffed that picture down in the referee's pocket. So just count them here. I got them right here. Just count them.
Well, they had a call against them against the Browns last week, and Cowher was in a rage. Thigpen ruled incomplete. That was pretty close. Bishop on the coverage. Looked like Thigpen was in the process of acceleration, but the ruling is incomplete.
Well, we saw him on the touchdown earlier doing such a nice job of catching the ball and immediately taking off and running, and you could see there that he sort of had to turn his head in order to catch it. He didn't extend his hands out, and it caught him in the side of the helmet.
Ron Stark punting from his end zone. Travis Hanna is back. And a short punt. Chris Oldham made the play. It's a 32-yard punt by Stark, so the Oilers will get it with excellent field position. They will start out at the 47-yard line, and Will Fuhrer has come on for Chris Chandler. We mentioned earlier that Chandler bothered by the flu during the course of the week. Try to check at the Houston bench to see why the quarterback changed. Will Fuhrer, a southpaw in his 4th year out of Virginia Tech. '88, the tight end Lewis in motion. And a nice hole again for Rodney Thomas. Levon Cookman on the stop, and we have checked with the Houston sideline. Chris Chandler still bothered by the flu. Gave it a go in the first half, but he's back in the locker room. He is not ruled out completely the rest of the way, but under the weather, and so Will Fuhrer has come on. 2nd and 1 off the 9-yard run by Thomas. Thomas with the change of direction, but he's hit for a loss. He tried to reverse, but he was met by Kevin Henry.
Marv, that's just a terrible play by Rodney Thomas. You have to know the situation in the football game. It was 2nd and 1, and he tries this reverse spin and ends up losing 5 or 6 yards on the play. There's nothing wrong with going in there and just make it 3rd and 1. Then you get a chance to bring Marion Butts in there. There's Steve McNair, and who knows before this one's over.
Steve McNair, 1st-round draft pick. A rookie from Alcorn State is the 3rd quarterback. Fuhrer has a 3rd down and 6, and completes. Chris Sanders right at the marker. Let's see where they spot it. Oldham on the tackle. Sanders was looking across the field trying to light up where that 1st down marker was located.
And Jeff Fisher getting a good look. He was looking right down the line of scrimmage. He went for it earlier in the ball game on 4th down, and we talked about how successful they have been in short yardage situations with Marion Butts, but the Steelers the first time around stopped them on 2 straight plays.
It is a 4th and 1, and Butts has checked in along with the 3rd tight end, the offensive lineman, number 64, Eric Norgard. And Fuhrer calling for time. With the play clock rolling down, did not want to get hit with a delay of game. A timeout is taken. 11:18 left. 3rd quarter. It's the Steelers by 7.
Tonight, the residents of Covington Point will consume 542,000 watt-hours of energy.
Will Fuhrer has taken over for Chris Chandler at quarterback. He's looking at a 4th down and 1 at the Pittsburgh 38-yard line, and he is able to fire for the 1st down. Fuhrer connects with Travis Hanna. An 8-yard advance. Carnell Lake on the tackle.
Not to wear this point out, but if Rod Woodson were playing cornerback, he would not be playing 7 yards off in this situation. They'd have Rod Woodson up there in bump and run coverage, but with Carnell Lake, they prefer to play him off, just raise up, fire the football out there, easy first down. Jerry Rome, the offensive coordinator, saw it obviously in the film study, and that's a great call.
A first down at the 30-yard line. And a give to Thomas. Hit back behind the line. Taken down at the 35 by Greg Lloyd.
Just amazing to watch Greg Lloyd play football. The way that he is not into play and then all of a sudden just explodes onto your screen. He's going to make the read and come from about 6 yards deep and make the play 3 or 4 yards in the backfield. You just rarely see guys that size that can run like that.
A 2nd and 14 at the 34. Will Fuhr has spent time with the Bears, the Cardinals, the Broncos, a 4th-round pick of the Bears in '92, last spring in the World League. Trying to run out of trouble and taken out right at the 35-yard line. We're told that Chris Chandler, who was in the hospital on Thursday, tested for mononucleosis, although the feeling is he has the flu. The results will not be known until tomorrow, but he tried to give it a go in the first half. That is Steve McNair, who is the 3rd quarterback. If the 3rd quarterback enters the game for the first time in either the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd quarter, then both other quarterbacks are not eligible to return. If the 3rd quarterback enters the game for the first time in the 4th quarter or in overtime, the other 2 can re-enter, and the play is blown dead.
You've had a little extra time on your hands too, haven't you?
Chris, you must be
delay by the offense. 5 yards, still 3rd down.
I'm thinking of intricate rules in the NFL. You're thinking of different looks for Red Cashion.
That's true. You're sort of into the jeopardy of rule book. You like the hard.
Very, very sad. It's a 3rd and 21. 6 minutes in. 3rd quarter. Marv Albert with Chris Collinsworth from Three Rivers in Pittsburgh, where the Steelers lead 14-7. Fuhr stepping up. Fuhr going deep for Jeffries. It is ruled incomplete. On the double coverage, Jeffries could not hold on.
I don't know how that ball wasn't caught by somebody. It was just thrown straight up in the air, and there are 3 people that jumped up for the ball, and somehow it ends up on the ground. That's out. Darren Perry and Willie Williams right there defensively, and really for Will Fuhr, lucky just to get away with one there. No go.
And Rich Camarillo hunting for the 6th time. Andre Hastings lets it go. They'll bring it out to the 20. 41-yard punt. We'll be right back.
Business.
And the Steelers start out from their 20-yard line. It's Pittsburgh 14 and Houston 7. It has not been an effective game, though, for Neil O'Donnell. O'Donnell has thrown 2 touchdown passes, but he's 10 of 26, 140 yards. O'Donnell to the sideline for Thigpen and a first down. Jamore Barnes on the coverage of Yancey Thigpen. That's his 5th reception.
And that's on the side where Darrell Lewis would be playing, and Barnes obviously showing a lot of respect for Yancey Thigpen. He was completely out of the picture on that one.
First down at the 35-yard line. Cordell Stewart checking back in. Started out as the draw, and Pegram is stopped at the line of scrimmage. Ford and Davidson with the wraps on Eric Pegram, who happens to be a native of Texas, born in Dallas. He's been a terrific pickup on the part of the Steelers, a little quiet the last couple of weeks. He was signed from Atlanta as a free agent. Chris, it was kind of a flash success story for the Falcons broke the 1,000-yard plateau back in '93 and then slipped into part-time use last year.
Yeah, and he got a lot of calls, though, during the free agency period, but once he heard Pittsburgh was interested, he said, I know they run the football. That's where I want to go.
And he's running the football right here. Eric Pegram has a first down. Run out by Barnes.
And I really thought that Eric Pegram was a guy that had slipped into Jerry Glanville's doghouse, and that was the reason that he wasn't getting quite the use that a lot of people thought that he would. But we were talking to Bill Cowher yesterday, and he said, oh, no. He said, I called Jerry before we ended up signing him. And he said, Jerry Glanville loves this guy. He thought he was really something special, and that's when they made the decision to go ahead and sign him.
I think that Jerry was really upset that Eric spells his name with 2 R's. I believe that was the point of contention. Yeah. And O'Donnell's pass is broken up, intended for Thigpen, covered by Barnes.
Well, that's what they're trying to do now. You get an injury to Darrell Lewis, and his backup to where Barnes comes in, so you put your best receiver, Yancey Thigpen, over there, and you throw the ball deep. At that time, Barnes was just absolutely perfect coverage. And you just really can't do it any better than that.
You know, there is a point to the story regarding Eric Pegram. Spells his name E-R-R-I-C. He said his parents wanted him to be similar to his twin brother Derek, which is D-E-R-R-I-C.
I knew there had to be a point.
And Pegram able to dance his way and then coughed it up. The Oilers say they have it. They do. It is recovered by Glenn Montgomery of Houston.
And the Steelers just keep fooling around with this ball club. They've been dominating the whole day. They keep making mistakes, keep giving the Oilers chances, and they are not out of it. 7 games -8 during the 5-game winning streak, +5. And a season ago, that's how they won. They held on to the football, something Eric Pegram did not do there.
And Houston taking over off the fumble recovery, and again, Fuhrer couldn't find anyone. Run out by Greg Lloyd.
And I'll tell you that Will Fuhrer is crazy. You got Greg Lloyd chasing you, and when you're outside the pocket as a quarterback, all you have to do is throw the football over the line of scrimmage. Just take it and dump it over the line of scrimmage, and it's not intentional grounding. This is the second time he's taken a shot when he didn't have to.
And for you stat fans, that goes down as a coverage sack. And the Steelers with their 6th sack of the day.
And those offensive linemen, they don't like that either when you give up one of those cheap ones.
2 of them were coverage sacks on Fuhrer. It's a 2nd and 12 at the 48-yard line. Rodney Thomas, who coughs it up. Recovered by the Steelers. Well, Rodney Thomas had fumble problems earlier this season. They appear to be corrected, but he gives it right back, and Jason Gilden comes up with a recovery.
And that's the big difference in this league and any other league. When you're playing in college, guys don't go for the football like they do in the NFL. It just doesn't work that way. The first guy gets there, the next guy starts trying to strip that thing out of there. That time Ray Seals just able to strong-arm this thing away from Rodney Thomas.
Jeff Fisher telling us last night they felt by changing the position of his fingers on the football, they had corrected the fumble problems of Rodney Thomas. And Bam Morris stopped at the line. The left defensive tackle, Gary Walker, the rookie from Auburn. There he is, number 96, playing for the injured Ray Childress, came up with a stop on Mars.
And a lot of times when a team's offense comes out and they turn the ball over, the defense sort of sulks for a play or two. But that time, Gary Walker, he's not sulking. He's excited to be here. They got some crowd noise, something they don't have down in Houston.
It has been a apathetic response, even with the announcement that this franchise is headed to Nashville, Tennessee. Not the same kind of response that you feel, obviously, not anywhere near what has occurred in Cleveland.
Well, in Cleveland, they were ready to improve the stadium or build a new one. They'd already passed the tax issue and all the different things, whereas in Houston, truly, they were apathetic. They didn't really seem to care that much whether or not the football team stayed or left.
It's a 3rd and 10 at the 47. Just under 6 minutes to go. 3rd quarter. Pittsburgh 14, Houston 7. O'Donnell out of the shotgun. O'Donnell throwing to the sideline. Andre Hastings, the intended receiver, covered by Hunter and Dishman.
And we've seen more than a couple of drops here in the second half that have killed drives for Neil O'Donnell. You really can't throw this one in there a whole lot better than what Neil O'Donnell did. Like he turned his hands over. I'm not exactly sure why he tried to catch it upside down like that. If he would just put the hands underneath and catch it, had plenty of room.
Run start with the short punt. Hanna returning across the 30-yard line. 33-yard punt, 11-yard return. With head coach Jeff Fisher last night, and he said that he improved the technique. If we had a football like we have a football. Why don't you demonstrate?
Here's what they did. Instead of, they put the finger over there, that's what Thomas was doing. They told him to split it apart, make that a pressure point, your forearm's a pressure point, and then back in here in the elbow, and then that way you've got 3 pressure points to hold the football.
Very impressive, Chris.
Yes.
First and 10 from the 31-yard line, and Thomas got the call. And Chris Chandler is back in there, coming on for Will Fuhrer.
Well, that time, Chandler, oh boy, obviously he's sick and not feeling too good.
My mistake. I was told Chandler was on hand, but he does not look very well as he's come out from the locker room. And I guess we'll give it a go. On the sideline, suffering with the flu, Will Fuhrer does remain on the field. With 4:54 to go in this 3rd quarter. And Fuhrer able to complete for Jeffries. Broke a tackle, has the first down. 3rd catch of the day, and number 49 on the season for Jeffries.
I believe that was Willie Williams who misses this tackle. It was just right there in front of you, and it is. And Jeffries, a big, strong guy, 6'2", over 200 pounds, and Williams just unable to bring him down, and he was picking up the first down.
Crowd here at Three Rivers urging the defensive unit on. Thomas clutching the football, making certain that it is not jarred loose as he was hit by Joel Steed.
Joel Steed got the initial contact, and then it was Kevin Green who applied yet another pressure point for Rodney Thomas. Right as he's going down, Kevin Green's going to come in with it and just drive right through Rodney Thomas. Boy, I tell you, those are the kinds you think about on Monday morning.
2nd and 7. Houston from their 47. And the swing for Thomas, but he is short of a first down, met by Carnell Lake.
And here's a real tough spot now for Will Fuhrer. He probably only got 2 or 3 snaps in practice throughout the course of the week. And against the Pittsburgh Steelers, they will probably bring pressure off of one side and force Will Fuhrer to throw something hot. Now, Fuhrer has to be careful because the Steelers will drop defensive linemen back into those throwing lanes and maybe come up with some cheap interceptions.
3rd and 6 from the 48. And Fuhrer able to complete for the first down.
Pass complete to Jeffries.
Haywood Jeffries picks up 9.
And all of a sudden now in the second half, Haywood Jeffries has become a favorite of Will Fuhrer's. Steelers coming with a strange sort of blitz. Greg Lloyd appearing to come into the middle and then tried to circle all the way around. The timing was not there, and that left Fuhrer plenty of time to get it out to Jeffries.
Will Fuhrer has seen some action this season. Prior to today, had thrown 77 passes, completing 51%. McNair. So with 2 minutes and 40 seconds left in this third quarter, let's check in with Greg Gumbel back at our New York studio.
All right, Marv, another terrific day for Brett Favre in the making. This is his second touchdown pass of the day, a 14-yarder to Edgar Bennett to put the Packers up. It's also his 30th of the season, 100th of his career. The Packers lead the Bengals by a touchdown. They're just starting the fourth quarter, Marv.
All right, Greg, second down and 10 at the 43-yard line. And Fuhrer goes incomplete. Intended for Russell, who was covered and well covered by Carnell Lake.
Yeah, Carnell Lake doing a nice job. You know, we talked to Carnell yesterday about playing the cornerback position instead of the safety position. He said at safety, everything happens in front of you. At the cornerback position, the hardest thing I had to learn was how to turn back for the football when it was in the air, because you know all the pass interference rules and all that stuff. And he thought that was the most difficult part of playing corner.
Third down and 10. Oilers have been a very successful third down team all season. Last week converting 9 of 11 against Denver. They do not convert here. Somewhere in the area was Derek Russell.
That is just a poor throw by Will Fuhrer. That thing had to be about 10 yards high. It flew over everybody. You could see him just sitting there waiting for Derek Russell to make his break, and then when he finally did, he threw it over everybody. Just have to wonder if we're not going to see Steve McNair if they can get to the fourth quarter, and that may well be, but the next time they get the football, they take a shot just to get a little something going with this offense.
Well, McNair has not thrown a pass in the NFL. He did finish up in a blowout situation against the Browns. That was a interesting catch on that punt by Camarillo that went only 25 yards. A minute 56 remaining, third quarter. Was on the receiving end of a couple of passes, including this 71-yard touchdown.
Watch Yancey Thigpen. Cordell said that was the hardest hit he took all year. Yancey drilled him after he caught the touchdown pass.
Cam Morris on the sweep. Broke the tackle. Strong run from Morris, who is run out by Cecil.
You know, that's when Bam Morris got hot last week against Cleveland at the end of the game. Dermontti Dawson's going to pull out in front of this play. But late in the ball game, those bigger backs start to get a lot more effective when the defensive guys start to get a little bit tired. And it was Bam Morris last week against Cleveland that killed the clock over the last 8 minutes and 52 seconds.
Picked up 14 on that run. First down for the Steelers from their 32-yard line. Morris to the other side. And reaches across the 35. Walker and Bowden combined to make the stop. This third quarter is running down. A minute 20 remaining.
Dermontti Dawson has made the Pro Bowl the last 3 years from the center position. One of the few guys that can pull from that position. He gets out in front. Watch how long he stays on this block. That is a long time to maintain a block in the National Football League, and it took Bam Morris a little time to get there. Just a sensational player. He really is.
Second down and 5. O'Donnell with the long look, now being pursued, and has to run it out of bounds with Kenny Davidson right on his tail. Once again, let's check in with Greg Gumbel.
All right, Marv, that man Favre has done it again for the Packers. This is an 8-yard touchdown pass to Mark Chmura to give the Packers a 24-10 lead over the Bengals. His third of the day, 31st of the year, 101st of his career, 14 in the last 4 games. Marv, will give you every Brett Favre touchdown pass he throws.
We may not get to do our game here if you do that. That guy has been hot. Boy, has he been something.
See time running down to this third quarter. It's a third down and 5. Cordell Stewart is back on the field, and the Steelers take a timeout. Or apparently a delay of game has been called. They were trying to call for time. They took too much time.
And that really makes a difference between 3rd and 6 and 3rd and 11.
Timeout, Pittsburgh.
Oh, they did get the timeout called.
Well, you know, Red didn't want to get anything stuffed in his pocket.
That's right. Good point. Oh, the evil eye being applied by Jeff Fisher. So the ruling is that the Steelers did beat the clock by taking the timeout. Reminder tonight right here on NBC. Extremely Weird will get things going in bizarre fashion, it should be added. That's followed by comedy hits Mad About You and Hope and Gloria, plus the world premiere movie event Shadow of a Doubt, starring Brian Dennehy. That is right here on NBC.
We had a chance to meet with Bill Cowher yesterday, and during the course of the conversation we were talking about Carnell Lake and a lot of different guys, and he just kept bringing up the word unselfish. You know, everybody was unselfish, and I went back at my notes last night and I counted. And there were 17 unselfishes. So you had 17 unselfishes, like a couple of team guys, about 6 team guys, and 3 slashes. He talked about slash, which was Cordell Stewart a little bit. But his big thing was the unselfish guys. He kept bringing that up.
And Cordell is back on the field. O'Donnell was in at wide receiver. Stewart, diving attempt, and is incomplete for Cordell Stewart, his first incompletion of the season. He was 3 for his previous 3.
Well, the game speed changes a little bit, doesn't it, when he gets in the ball game? I don't know if that was intended to be a run or not. They had people out there in front, but the Houston Oilers did a nice job of cutting off the angles and not allowing him to turn the corner.
So this 4th down and 5 run start will punt. Travis Hanna with the fair catch. 6 seconds to go in this 3rd quarter. A 34-yard punt. Cordell Stewart incidentally says he wants to keep that number 10 jersey. If they put him in an 80s jersey, he'd feel too much like a full-time receiver.
Yancey Thigpen was giving him a hard time yesterday. He said that we kept telling him that he was going to end up in our meeting room, and he said, oh, no, I'm a quarterback. I'm not going to be there. And then one day they walked into the meeting room, and there was Cordell sort of sitting there with his head down. They all just burst out laughing. I told you you'd be here eventually.
And the Oilers from their 29-yard line. Final seconds, 3rd quarter. You're able to peg it in at the 36-yard line, combining with the tight end Frank Wycheck. That's his first reception. That's it for the 3rd. We'll be back after this from your local station.
Tonight, from the unexplained to the unimaginable, deadly curses, gigantic.
Back at Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh, Marv Albert with Cris Collinsworth. 4th quarter getting underway. Pittsburgh 14 and Houston 7. It's a 2nd down and 3, and Rodney Thomas is stopped back behind the line. Myron Bell, the strong safety, on the tackle.
Despite the fact that really Pittsburgh has outplayed Houston today, Houston's still within a touchdown. And just wonder if before this one's over, you might see Steve McNair. He is a guy that can create offense, and they have been struggling with that. At least get him in there, let him scramble around a little bit, maybe make some plays.
Much celebrated number 1 draft pick out of Alcorn State. Here's Fuhrer being pushed back, got it off, incomplete. Intended for Todd McNair, who's had a very quiet afternoon. Willie Williams on the coverage of Todd McNair, who is Houston's leading receiver.
One thing in the National Football League, when you can get pressure on the quarterback rushing just 4 guys, it is awfully nice to have 7 people in the secondary to cover, and that's what happened there. That was basically a coverage pressure situation.
Well, it's been an excellent game for the punters and the punt return people. 8th punt of the day for Camarillo. Hastings back. This one off the side of the foot. And Here comes Hastings. And runs it out at midfield. Andre Hastings, who's averaging 10 yards per return, took that one 17 yards following the poor punt, a 24-yarder by Camarillo. Well, coming up after the game, it is the conclusion of the Office Depot Father-Son Challenge. Our own Johnny Miller will join such golf legends as Lee Trevino, Raymond Floyd, and others as they team up with their sons for the final day action that is next here on NBC. Opening minute, fourth quarter. And the Steelers back to the offense, starting out at midfield. O'Donnell completing to Thigpen, who lost it. And the Oilers say they have it. Houston has recovered. Looked like Michael Barrow on top of the football.
See whether or not he actually catches this football. 1-2, absolutely. Good call by the officials. Just a strip on the back side of it. But clearly had 2 steps, and that was a good call.
So the Oilers return to the offense.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Coors Light, shipped cold to bring you all that is great about the Rockies. Tap the Rockies with Coors Light. And by IBM, solutions for a small planet.
Yancey Thigpen in a conversation with Neil O'Donnell. Thigpen made the catch, but lost the ball. Third turnover for Pittsburgh. Houston gets it back. Todd McNair with a rare carry, refusing to go down. A beautiful run by McNair. It's only his second carry of the game, and for the season, only the 16th time that he's rushed the ball.
He is much more of a receiver than a runner, but that's what Pittsburgh knew as well. You know, you see Todd McNair in there, and you start thinking they're going to throw the football. He takes a step back in and runs the draw. Good play calling that time by Jerry Rome.
And a first down for the Oilers at their 42-yard line. Again, it is McNair. Todd McNair with another nice spinning move. Willie Williams made the stop. Picked up, let's see, about 9 on the play. Second down and 1.
Maybe they ought to give it to him a little more often. Pretty nice moves. I saw him last week as a receiver, and I was really impressed with his ability to go one-on-one, and now it's beginning to translate to the running game.
Todd McNair in a 7th season out of Temple. A third straight time, but this time stopped back behind the line. Kevin Green came up to make the tackle on McNair.
And the one thing you don't want to do against this Steeler defense is try and outrun them to the corner. I mean, really, the way that you want to attack Kevin Green and Greg Lloyd and some of those guys, you have to run right at them. You're not going to turn the corner on them. You're not going to let belly out and get around them. You have to try and get him knocked out and go run up right inside of them. They're just too fast.
Second down and about 4. Check that, third down and 4. Fuhrer throwing into a crowd intended for the tight end Wycheck, and broken up by Lloyd.
With Greg Lloyd, it's hard to figure out whether or not you should rush him or let him play coverage. He does both exceptionally well. He got there right when the ball got there. When I first saw it, I thought there may have been interference on the play, but no flag from the officials.
A 4th and 4. So Camarillo will drop back to punt. Hastings waiting at his 15. Punt number 9 for Rich Camarillo. Hastings. Penalty flag is down. 35-yard punt. And a penalty. Referee Red Cashin. The officials seeking their privacy to discuss this.
But the Steelers are huddling up on the goal line, so I think they already know what it is.
There's no infraction on the play. Timeout.
Well, apparently an errant flag. No penalty. We'll be right back.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Domino's Pizza. Call now and have Domino's deliver the ultimate deep dish pizza. Because when it's gotta be deep, it's gotta be Domino's.
Well, this is the 54th meeting all time between Houston and Pittsburgh. Steelers joining the AFC Central back in 1970 as part of that NFL-AFL merger. Steelers have won 3 straight, 5 of the last 7 against the Oilers. Steelers take over at their 18-yard line. Bam Marv breaking tackles, reaching to the 24-yard line, met by the free safety, Chuck Cecil. Green Bay leading Cincinnati with 8:05 remaining in the fourth quarter. Miami continues to have its difficulties.
Well, you just have to wonder whether or not Don Shula could survive another loss. All the great things that he's done in his career. Indianapolis struggling with Carolina. It could make it easy on Buffalo in their game against San Francisco tonight.
Could you see a change during the season?
No, definitely not. But, I mean, the Wolves are crying in Miami right now.
2nd down and 3. Morris. Good second effort. That is applauded by the crowd as he has a first down. Eddie Robinson and Kenny Davidson combining to make the stop. Well, if the season would have ended prior to today's play, Kansas City, Pittsburgh, and Buffalo are all in. You see Miami fading. Indianapolis involved in a tough ball game today, as you mentioned, with Carolina.
It's hard to pick out the best in the AFC right now. I guess it's Kansas City. They were pretty impressive. Even though they lost that game against Dallas, they went toe-to-toe with the two-time champions.
The back pedal by O'Donnell to set the screen, but it did not work. The Oilers all over Bam Morris. Michael Barrow in his 3rd year out of Miami. Man who's taken over for the injured Al Smith. Made the stop.
You know, Michael Barrow, he really doesn't even want to play middle linebacker. Throughout his career in high school, he was an outside linebacker, and the middle linebacker flunked out, so he had to play middle linebacker. In college, both middle linebackers got hurt. He had to play middle linebacker. So he came here and he said, well, Al Smith never gets hurt. He's always playing. And sure enough, this year Al Smith got hurt, and Michael Barrow had to go back and play middle linebacker.
2nd down and 15 for Pittsburgh. John L. Williams in motion. And O'Donnell going up top. Too deep for Thigpen. It was covered by Barnes. Brings up a 3rd and 15.
And the one thing that the Steelers really have not been able to do with their passing game, it's been so much better this year than it was a year ago, is just take it and run right by somebody. They really have not completed the pure streak route today. And Houston's comeback going to be made a little tougher as the rain begins to fall.
Overcast right throughout the day. When the game began, it was 50 degrees, unseasonably mild, and now the rain is falling. 3rd down and 15. Almost intercepted, and on the deflection, Oilers had a shot at it and apparently picked it off.
It's like Odie Harris is the one that came up with it, and we talked about the rain and made that football slippery.
Odie Harris did come up with it on the deflection for his 2nd interception of the season.
And the worst time to try and catch a football is when it first gets wet, because there's a little slime or something that gets on it, and it went right through the hands of one of the defenders. It's like Darrell Lewis, and then Odie Harris came up with it.
Looks like Dishman had a shot at it. Odie Harris has had a strong game. And the Houston Oilers, who have been allowed to hang around, very much alive with 9.5 remaining in the 4th quarter. Here's Fuhrer throwing a knuckleball that should have been picked off. Myron Bell could not hold on to the pass intended for the tight end, Frank Wycheck.
The ball was tipped at the line of scrimmage, and Bell had a great opportunity for this one. I don't know if it was tipped or not. It just sort of got away. A little flutter. I'm really surprised. Even now with the rain, I'm really surprised that we haven't seen Steve McNair. I mean, this is kind of the perfect opportunity for him.
O'Donnell picked off for a second time a moment ago. And Houston, 2nd and 10 down to the 40-yard line off the delay. Thomas for short yardage. Jason Gilden involved on the tackle.
And here's one of those dreaded 3rd and long situations that you hate when you're playing offense against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Dick LeBeau, dating back to his days in Cincinnati, and Dom Capers when he was here, and now Dick LeBeau takes over. They're going to send somebody from somewhere and try and force you to throw that hot read. Even if you complete it, they just make the tackle.
3rd and 8 at the 38. And Fuhrer throwing downfield, but a bit too high for Derek Russell.
And that time they did not bring the pressure, and Derek Russell had a step. Fuhrer just threw it a little bit behind him and didn't really give him a chance to reach up and make the play. Went up, really kind of went up with one hand. I thought he had a chance to go up with 2 hands, and not exactly sure why he just stuck one hand up there. Here comes our friend out to kick it again.
This is punt number 10. His career high is 11. On a 4th down and 8. Camarillo. I'm assuming we'll try to angle it. He does. Gunning for the corner. Nicely done.
Boy, that is nice right there.
36-yard punt, but a beauty to put the Steelers in a hole.
Chris Chandler still over on the sideline battling flu-like symptoms, and you just have to wonder why in the world he's still out there on the bench.
Get him back in the locker room. It's raining.
Some soup or something.
Tea and toast. Starting from the 3. And Marv pulling his way up to the 9-yard line, met by the strong safety Blaine Bishop. 8.5 remaining in the 4th quarter, and the Steelers with a 14-7 lead on the Oilers. Now, last week in the win over Cleveland, Pittsburgh ran out the final 8 minutes and 52 seconds, holding on to a 3-point lead.
And Bill Cowher called it his favorite drive of the year, and it didn't even score any points.
2nd and 4. Off the roll, O'Donnell intended for the tight end Bruner.
Well, let's give this Houston Oiler defense a little credit after getting shellacked last week by John Elway and company. They have come back here and answered the call. They've gotten really no help whatsoever from their offense, but defensively, they just keep making plays, and it's a little overthrown, but really Michael Barrow right there in good position. This is a big 3rd down play right here.
It's a 3rd and 4 at the 9. O'Donnell is 13 of 35, 163 yards, picked off twice, and he's thrown 2 touchdowns. Able to pick up the 1st down. Andre Hastings. Run out by Chris Dishman.
And they got the mismatch. Steve Jackson, who's trying to suck it up with a bad ankle injury, just was unable to make the pivot and come back and cover Hastings on that play. He's doing the best he can. They really weren't even sure he was going to play out here this afternoon, but they took advantage of that injury because he just simply couldn't plant and get back with Hastings.
Andre Hastings with his first catch of the day, good for 22, and a 1st down at the 31. Morris to the outside and stiff arms his way to the 36, hauled down by Dishman.
You know, Marv, you talked about it, that drive against Cleveland to close out the game last week. And Bam Morris only had 55 yards the entire game and really was not effective running the ball. But in that final drive, he had 37 yards and just continued to pick up 1st downs.
2nd down and 5. Bill's gone to the hat under the headset to protect himself from the elements. Just under 7 minutes remaining in the 4th. Morris. And he is shy of a 1st down. Henry Ford on the stop of Bam Morris. Pittsburgh Steelers trying to make it 6 consecutive wins and a record of 9-4. Victory here today would clinch the AFC Central Division, while the Houston Oilers, with that long shot possibility, still have an outside shot for a wild card. They've won 3 of their last 5, and they are 5-7. What a job by Jeff Fisher. He has turned things around. This club was 2-14 a year ago. Remember, Fisher took over for Jack Pardee, went 1-5 the last 6 games, but it's been a different story this season. 3rd down and 2. Incomplete, intended for Cordell Stewart.
And I guarantee you that Darrell Lewis, who I believe made that hit, enjoyed smacking Cordell as much as any hit he's ever gotten. People have been lining up, wanting to be the one that knocks him out. Now, excuse me, that was not Darrell Lewis. That was Torrey Hunter who got the shot. And that was the one thing as a wide receiver, you didn't want that ball hung up like that.
Ron Stark will punt. Travis Hanna is back. You know Mel Gray just hates missing a game like this out with the 5 problem. A lot of punt opportunities, and Hanna is smothered. 32-yard punt and a 3-yard return with 6 minutes to go in the 4th.
Yancey Thigpen was telling us yesterday that the best thing about having Cordell Stewart play wide receiver is we'll never have to remind him to keep the football down when he goes back to quarterback. There you see why.
And you hear the crowd getting behind the Pittsburgh defensive unit. Rodney Thomas on the slant is stopped behind the line. With just under 6 minutes to go in the 4th quarter, the Steelers with a 14-7 lead on the Oilers. All the scoring in the 1st half. 2 touchdowns thrown by O'Donnell to Thigpen on a 33-yarder to the tight end Bruner on a 7-yard pass play. The Houston score, Chris Chandler, 76 yards to the rookie receiver, Chris Sanders. Chandler bothered by the flu. It's not played in the 2nd half, replaced by Will Fuhrer, who throws incomplete, intended for Sanders.
And it just hasn't been there, really, for Will Fuhrer today, and I'm sure that Steve McNair over there is anxious to get his opportunity to get in the game, because the traditional style of offense isn't working for Will Fuhrer. The dropping back or trying to hand it off and get the running game going. And at least Steve McNair is one of those guys. He runs all over the place and maybe could create something, but doesn't look like he's about to come in.
I would think Jeff Fisher would be very reluctant in that McNair's not taking that many snaps. The club's still alive for a playoff spot. Here's Fuhrer firing downfield. Jump ball was thrown. Sanders not able to come up with it. Covered by Randy Fuller.
Well, I don't know how many times now the Houston Oilers have gone 3 and out in the ball game, but it seems about every time they get on the field. And Pittsburgh Steelers defense has just been dominant, and looked like Sanders had it for just a brief moment and then had it knocked away.
It was 40 yards in the air, and once again it is hello Rich Camarillo as he equals his career high, an 11th punt opportunity and a line drive. The leg may be getting tired. Hastings on the return. Hastings barrels his way to the 45-yard line. Bowden and Hunter on the stop. 34-yard punt and a 13-yard return, so the Steelers get it back, and they would just love to hold the football for the final 5 minutes and 3 seconds with a 7-point lead. Well, next Saturday, NBC Sports presents more NFL action, starting at the special time of 12 noon Eastern with the pregame show, the NFL on NBC, and then Warren Moon and the NFL's leading receiver Chris Carter will lead the Vikings against the Cleveland Browns, a special Saturday edition of the NFL on NBC starting 12 noon Eastern. From the 45-yard line, Pittsburgh back to the offense. Morris picked up the yard. Barrow on the stop. 2 timeouts apiece remaining for Houston and Pittsburgh. The clock is running. 4:50 left in this fourth quarter.
And right now, Jeff Fisher is just daring Neil O'Donnell to throw the football. That time there was at least 9 and I think 10 guys at the line of scrimmage by the time they snapped the ball.
It'll be a 2nd down and 9. John L. Williams peeling off, and O'Donnell completes. No, incomplete. Once again, Yancey Thigpen. He's had 3 similar situations. 2 of them, it appeared he had it for an instant and then lost it, which were ruled incomplete, and another he was running with the ball and lost it.
I think there's a flag down on the play as well.
Illegal motion, number 22 on the offense. That penalty is declined. It's 3rd down.
Well, that was that peel off by John L. Williams.
Right. You know, Marv, the one thing, though, I talked about the gloves and how they get sticky and it's easier to catch the ball, but when it rains, those gloves actually get slicker. When I was playing and we would get in a wet game, I would take my gloves off because I thought it was harder to catch the football then.
Were you a proponent of the old stick-'em?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
3rd down and 9. Nice moves by Hastings. Andre Hastings with a couple of key catches. Eddie Robinson on the stop, and that is good for 24 yards.
And that's Bill Cowher's way of saying good job. Congratulations. He gets you by the shoulder pads and kind of shakes you around a little bit. This is a huge 3rd down play, though. Just caught the Oilers in man coverage underneath, but if it weren't for the moves by Hastings, they'd have had to punt the football. This is a much improved wide receiver group from the Steelers. A couple of years ago, I thought this was really the weakest part of the football team.
It is a 1st down at the Houston 30-yard line. Straight ahead by Bam Morris, and he's going all the way. Bam Morris straight ahead for 30 yards, his 9th touchdown of the season and 101 for the day.
And this is getting to be that Bam Morris time of year. The weather starts getting bad, and the weather and Bill Cowher is telling him, you're the man now. You've got to carry us for a ways. There's going to be a lot more of these ugly offensive days, and Bam Morris has to be the man.
The extra point by Norm Johnson, leading to an exchange of words at the line, but it is quickly broken up by the officials.
The touchdown just right up the middle. And you have to wonder if that last catch didn't demoralize this Houston defense. They've been out there so long today. They've been working so hard, giving their offense chance after chance. And then they finally picked up that last 1st down on a 3rd and long situation. And I think emotionally it was just too much for the Oilers.
Pittsburgh extending to a 21-7 lead with 3:27 remaining in the 4th quarter. Bam Morris, 3rd-round pick last year out of Texas Tech. He lives in Cooper, Texas, a native of Texas, doing it against the Houston Oilers.
And Marv, he's really the key. When you look at the Steelers and their chance of going to the Super Bowl this season, you can just put a big number 33 on the board because their passing game's improved, their defense is outstanding, their problem has been running the football. If Bam Morris can continue to pick up 100 yards at a time, this Steelers team certainly has a chance.
Norm Johnson with the kickoff. And here is Dennis Lundy. Looks like he lost his balance and then was hit down. Leafon Flowers, the rookie from Georgia Tech, applying the hit on Dennis Lundy.
And in my experience playing against the Pittsburgh Steelers, it is no fun when they get you down. Because then guys like Flowers, these crazy special teams guys, start flying around. And then they get emotional and the crowd starts doing this, and you might as well pack your bags and get on the bus.
Lathon Flowers loving the moment. Pure, 1st and 10 from the 20-yard line, completing. He has the tight end Wycheck out at midfield. Frank Wycheck with a second catch of the day. That's for 28 yards.
And Wycheck really has become much more of a factor in the past couple of weeks. 9 catches the last 2 weeks, but he was not a factor today, and I think a big reason why Greg Lloyd's been on him all day.
First down at midfield. Pure looking right, couldn't find anyone. Now on the run and goes down. Lost the yard on the play. And a flag is thrown. It's against Houston.
And Marv, one of the key things for the Pittsburgh Steelers now is that they really want to get the best record that they can because they want to host the playoff games. Kansas City is probably going to have home field advantage throughout, but if you're one of the 2 best records in the AFC, then you get a bye week and you get to host a playoff game.
Holding number 72 on the offense. 10 yards, still first down.
That is the left tackle, Brad Hopkins, and it pushes back to a 1st and 20 at the 39. Well, this is a Steeler team that last year finished 12-4. They won the Central. In the playoffs, they beat Cleveland and then lost in the AFC Championship game in San Diego.
But that's what makes that game at Oakland next week so important, that whole concept of home field advantage.
All right, the screen for McNair. Todd McNair reaching out near midfield, going for 12 with his second catch of the day. And we're down to 2:25 remaining in the 4th quarter. The Steelers now in front 21-7 as they gun for their 6th straight win. To the sideline. Steelers say he was out of bounds. And it is ruled incomplete. Willie Williams on the coverage of Haywood Jeffries. It brings up a 3rd down and 9.
And this Steelers defense has just been making the plays all day. They got Joel Steed back. Chad Brown is still out with the injury, and he was such an important part of this team. He has some kind of a high ankle injury. If they get him back before the playoffs, this team is going to be very difficult to score upon.
Here comes the rush. Pure just fires it away, and a penalty is down. Jason Gilden was all over the quarterback, Will Fuhr.
And Marv, I think they got the face mask of Fuhr as they were getting the pressure on him.
Face mask, number 37 on the defense. 5 yards, still 3rd down.
Carnell Lake coming on the blitz, and as he got his hands up to try and make the play, he also got a piece of the face mask. Just the 5-yard variety, not an automatic 1st down.
So it is a 3rd down and 4 up at the Pittsburgh 45. Fuhr's pass was batted down. It was tipped. Bill Johnson getting a piece of it.
And boy, Bill Johnson has been a welcome addition as well. Gives them a little depth on this defensive line now. Bill Johnson and Brinson Buckner and Kevin Henry, who was probably the biggest beneficiary. He just got that big hook up there. But now they've got something they haven't had all season, and that's like 5 guys that they can rotate in and out. And that's really important come playoff time.
It's a 4th down and 4. Fuhr throws a bullet, but it was dropped, ruled incomplete. Todd McNair could not hold on. The Steelers will take over with 1:58 to go in the 4th. A minute 58 remaining in the fourth quarter. Pittsburgh taking over, and they will just run out the clock.
Will Fuhrer over there trying to console himself. It's been a tough afternoon for him.
Steelers start out from the 45-yard line. Bam Morris, who has had a magnificent day, stopped by Michael Barrow, and a timeout is called by Houston.
Greg Gumbel in New York. Here's how the Miami Dolphins beat Atlanta 20-15 Falcons. Under half a minute to play. Dan Marino waits, 21 yards. Irving Fryer at the goal line for the touchdown. Miami wins at 21-20. The Dolphins snap their 3-game losing streak. Let's go back to Pittsburgh. Marv and Cris.
Thank you, Greg. A dramatic come-from-behind win for Dan Marino and his Miami Dolphins. Once again, Bam Morris. We now have a minute 45 remaining. For those who may have just joined us, a lot of highlights, but most of them in the first half. O'Donnell on a 33-yard touchdown pass to Thigpen. This gave the Steelers a 7-0 lead into the second quarter. And Chris Chandler was able to tie the game. This is the big play of the day for the Oilers, combined with the rookie Chris Sanders, a 76-yard touchdown pass play. But the Steelers took the lead as O'Donnell completed to the tight end Bruner, 14-7 at the half. And the only score here in the fourth quarter, Bam Morris, early fourth quarter on a 30-yard straight-ahead move, set up by a 24-yard completion to Hastings on a 3rd and 9. That was a key play, and Pittsburgh extended to 21-7, and that's where we are with a minute and 42 to go in this fourth quarter.
I just wonder how much more of that 5 wide receiver set on 3rd and 1 we're going to see. You know, it didn't work very well today, and Bam Morris was working pretty good.
All right, a draw play for John L. Williams, so a rare carry for Williams. That's his first of the day. It is short of a first down. Eddie Robinson on the stop. A look ahead for the Steelers. Next Sunday they play the Raiders in Oakland, then home for New England. They finish up at Green Bay on December the 24th. The Houston Oilers have 8 more quarters to play in Houston as they look ahead to Nashville, Tennessee. 4 against Detroit and 4 against the Jets. Next Sunday home for Detroit, then a home game with the Jets, and they finish up the schedule in Buffalo.
You know, Marv, the strange thing is that Pittsburgh may be playing for the last time this year in Cleveland, in Houston, and possibly in Cincinnati, depending on how the vote goes for the new stadium there in Cincinnati. So this Central Division possibly would be completely changed by this time next year, at least the cities.
Houston does not have any timeouts remaining. Pittsburgh with 2 left as you check out the scores of the early games. Carolina in the final seconds leading Indianapolis. And now here is Stark. Hanna on the return and runs it out to stop the clock with 41 seconds to go. A 47-yard punt.
You know, Marv, this is the 10th time in Bill Cowher's career out of 11 years as a coach that he will go to the playoffs. I mean, that is a phenomenal record. You've been a coach, either an assistant or a head coach, 11 years in the NFL. In 10 of those years, you've made it to the playoffs.
And as head coach, he has put together an impressive 3 years. His clubs have had the best record in the AFC twice. 12-4 last season, made the playoffs all 3 years. There is, of course, the disappointment of not making it to the Super Bowl last season. They have different thoughts for this year. Wycheck on the completion. Got out of bounds. 36 seconds remaining. 14-yard pass play. And a first down up at the 30.
You know, Marv, this season is beginning to look a lot like last year for Pittsburgh. At the end of the year, they won 7 straight games, lost a meaningless game to San Diego, the last regular season ball game. But they really got on a roll at the end of the year, and as a head coach or a team in the NFL, that's what you hope for.
And LaFleur throwing deep. It is intercepted. Picked off by Darren Perry. And he coughed it up. Let's see who recovered. Recovered by the Steelers. Myron Bell is on it. But for Perry, his 4th interception of the season. He went 22 yards, took a good shot, and it was recovered by Myron Bell.
And I think Will Fuhr is really having a tough time with this wet ball today. I mean, everything's gone high and sailing on him, and just really hasn't gotten a lot done offensively.
Darren Perry, who is a ball hawking specialist, was just sitting back playing center field, able to follow that one and then lost it. We are down to 22 seconds remaining of the game.
So clearly the best team in the AFC last year. Tower just got it. Rick Tower just got the bucket of ice dumped over his head. And there's players on the sidelines, they just love it. They enjoyed getting him.
And Bill Cowher and his Pittsburgh Steelers have clinched the AFC Central by winning their 6th straight. They go to 9-4, and the Oilers at 5 up and 8 down. The final score in a solid